Welcome to our hard-working team. Get to know your co-workers so that we can all work together. Working on this Christmas tree farm should be safe. You shouldn't be afraid to come to work, but you must be careful and alert so accidents don't happen. By working together on this Christmas tree farm, we can make it safer, making the work environment less stressful, more enjoyable, but more importantly, it's the law.
When it comes to pesticides, the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, passed a rule called the Worker Protection Standard to help keep you safer while you work. We also call this the WPS. This rule not only protects workers who apply pesticides, but anyone who works in an area that may have been treated with pesticides. The WPS requires all workers to know about pesticide safety. It also requires you to take the necessary precautions to avoid a potential exposure on the job. Remember, this law helps to protect you. Your boss cannot punish you for trying to follow these rules, and no one can force you to apply pesticides or to enter an area that has been treated with pesticides before the label says it is safe to do so. However, your responsibility is to learn the information that you'll see in this video. The material presented here is so important that the owners of this facility are paying you to attend this training session. You have an obligation to them and to yourself to pay attention and learn this material. You may be asked questions about it sometime in the future.
And your own safety may depend on it.
Again, there's no need to be afraid for your safety at work, but you must be alert. Orchards are no different than other farms. Pesticides must be used according to their label. If not, potentially dangerous exposures and accidents can occur. That's why pesticides must always be clearly marked and stored in their original containers. Pesticides come in many different forms. Liquids, aerosols, dusts, and granular formulations each have different safety concerns. For example, liquids, which are often in concentrated form, may require greater eye protection due to splashing during mixing. When working in orchards, dust and fine mists of pesticides are what you may encounter most often. Working with these applications will require special breathing apparatus. As you can see, if you pay attention to the labels and signs you see at work, you can reduce potential exposure and also accidents. Here are some examples of these warning signs. Signs like this: keep out. It means exactly what it says. Keep out. Do not enter.
What if I have to go in just briefly to pick up something I left behind?
You can't enter, period, and there are no exceptions. That sign was placed there for a reason. Possibly some pesticides were recently sprayed.
Remember, not all pesticide residues may be visible to the eye, but they could still be present.
Residues you can't see may be on equipment in treated areas, and that could be hazardous to anyone who isn't wearing the proper protective clothing. It's important to follow label directions on the restricted entry intervals, which indicate how much time must pass before you can safely go back into a treated area. We usually refer to this as the REI. Another important item to notice on every label is a signal word. This word tells how toxic a pesticide is. Caution is the least toxic, then warning, then danger, poison, which is the most toxic. Another signal word is danger, which identifies the pesticide as a severe eye or skin irritant. Only those workers who have pesticide application responsibilities should ever be handling these pesticides. If it's not your job, stay away from them.
What about empty containers? Can they be used for other purposes?
Absolutely not. Never take pesticides or pesticide containers home from work. They are not safe for any use around your home, and here's why. Even a small amount of some pesticides can be poisonous. When disposing of used pesticide containers, make sure to triple rinse containers and then render them unusable. For proper disposal of the containers, closely follow the directions on the container label or contact the state regulatory agency responsible for pesticides. Even if you rinse out an empty container, enough residues could be left inside to make you very sick if you were to drink water from it. After all, drinking is just one of the ways pesticides can get into your body. The truth is, most pesticide exposure occurs through skin contact or by breathing the pesticide. Let's look at some examples. Suppose someone doesn't look for a keep out or do not enter sign, or maybe he sees it and ignores it and walks into an unlocked storage building. Highly toxic pesticides could have spilled onto the floor from a leaky container. Later on, he rubs dirt off his shoes or ties his shoes, and the chemicals get on his hands, from his hands to his face, eyes, or even mouth. Or someone can walk into an area that was treated earlier that day. Even without knowing where or how it happened, they can get pesticide residues on themselves. In some cases, just breathing in the fumes can be enough to make you sick. Occasionally, weather or other conditions may cause some small amounts of pesticides to land somewhere other than their intended target. This is called drift. Your boss and the pesticide handlers at your facility must make sure that each pesticide is applied so that it does not come into contact with anyone who's not properly trained and wearing the appropriate protective equipment. It is important that all pesticide handlers know the possible health and environmental hazards that can result from pesticide drift, and how to safely and correctly use any equipment to avoid the possibility of drift. Workers must never be permitted to be working in areas where drift may occur. Again, the thing to remember is to be alert. Always look for these signs and labels. If it says keep out, do not enter. If it says danger, stay away. If you're not sure about something, don't be afraid to ask your supervisor.
How else am I supposed to know where these areas are and what pesticides have been used?
This information must be available at a central location that workers have free access to during work hours or whenever needed. Your supervisor or a trainer should have shown you where to find this information. If they haven't, just ask. That's right, ask. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Your supervisor will not only expect you to ask questions, he'll respect you for it.
Be smart. Be safe. Don't take chances with restricted areas or pesticides. Pay attention to where you are and what you are working with. Keeping safe is up to you.